I want to really quickly talk to you about how to conduct a stock take to count your inventory this year. Okay, so here are the trends I want you to really pay attention to when it comes to having a stock take to actually count your inventory. You have to really understand that it doesn't matter the inventory valuation method that you have, whether perpetual or periodic inventory. You got to really think about two things. You got to think about affordability, and you got to think about timing. Affordability in terms of the resources you allocate to the stock take, like resources in terms of let's say human resources, like your warehouse staff, your let's say your logistics staff in general. You also have to think about the monetary resources, what kind of a budget you have to allocate to that to the task, and also logistical resources. Okay, so that's for affordability. Timing is also important because you do not want to really count your inventory during the busy season. So you got to look for the time of the year where the your supply chain is less busy for you to really conduct a stock take. Okay. Now, proper inventory management relies on periodic stock takes, checking to see how much inventory you have on hand. And so, in today's conversation, I want to explain to you how to accurately count your inventory, regardless of how many locations you have. Okay. So, let me really define once and for like I want to really explain to you what a stock take really is. A stock take is actually the process of physically counting and recording the quantity of products a retailer has on hand at a specific point in time, also known as inventory tracking or stock counting. A stock take also verifies its results against the records in an inventory management system to actually ensure accuracy and identify any stock discrepancies. So the whole idea here is to make sure that the data you're showing, let's say at your warehouse, is actually the same data that actually is showing on your balance sheet. Okay, so if you're a business owner, you can then use any stock discrepancy information to complete a deeper stock audit, reconciling records until the company knows the exact quantities of items held in its facilities. So let me give you a few tips here. How do you perform a stock take this year? When you think about inventory management, actually having the right strategy to perform a stock take is really quite essential. So the first thing you want to do here is that you need to really prepare and plan. Okay, preparation is really really important. You do not want to do these things randomly. You got to have a method. So you got to really approach the whole process methodically. Okay, prepare and plan. So you want to start by scheduling the stock take during a quarter period. That's what I told you a little earlier. I said you want to choose a less busy period. Okay, so this can be before peak holiday shopping season, for example. And the reason why you want to do that is because you want to minimize disruptions to daily operations. You do not want to allocate all your HR resources onto a stock take during the busy season. So what you want to do is you want to gather necessary supplies such as barcode scanners, inventory sheets, and labels. You can also look at your SKU records, so your SKU code records, to see if you really can use the data to optimize your stock take. Okay, and if you are using cloud-based inventory software, you'll need an internet connection, right? You want to assign also roles and responsibilities to your team and provide clear instructions on accurate counting methods, whether you are using barcode scanners or logging items by hand. I mean, basically, it depends on your budget, right? If you want to do things manually, then you really need to give more instructions. You need to give clearer and more direct instructions. Otherwise, you are open your business up to mistakes. Okay, so number one, prepare and plan. Number two, you want to divide and organize your stock. So divide the stock into manageable sections or areas using shelves, for example, aisles, or product categories. You want to choose the kind of strategy that works for your specific operation. If it's shelves working for you, go ahead. If it's aisles, go ahead. If it's product categories, go ahead. You need to ensure the items are properly organized with clear labeling and easy access for counting purposes. The next thing you want to do here is that, after preparing and planning and dividing and organizing your stock, you need to really begin the actual count. Remember that with the actual count, you have the possibility to do it manually, or you can do it automatically using software, or you can use barcode scanners, you can use SKU code data sheets, and so on and so forth. It really depends on your operations. It depends on your budget. It depends on the resources overall that you have in your supply chain. So you want to progress to physically counting each item in the designated sessions using either tools like a barcode scanner or manual counts. You want to record counts accurately on inventory sheets, or you can enter them directly into your inventory management system, noting any discrepancies or damaged items. Now, the damaged items or even the discrepancies, you need to note them because they actually have a certain impact on financial records. So, because if you have a discrepancy between your physical count and your financial data, you would need to do some adjustments to your financial statements. If you have to be in compliance with U.S. GAAP and IFRS, U.S. GAAP, United States Generally Accepted Accounting Principles, and IFRS, International Financial Reporting Standards. So those are really accounting standards you have to comply with. Okay. So number three, you want to begin your count, your physical count. Number four, you want to verify and reconcile. I mean, there is no need to actually do a count if you're not going to verify and reconcile, because otherwise, you will leave actually mistakes in your books on, let's say, unchecked. So compare the physical count. You want to compare the physical count with existing records in the inventory management system. Investigate and actually resolve discrepancies found between the physical count and the recorded inventory levels. That's important. Now, if it's very minor, if the discrepancy is minimal, it's not really a big of a deal, right? But if the discrepancy is really a major, that could really signal trouble. This could be also a sign of fraud. You just never know. And that's important. So identify reasons for variances such as theft, missing orders, errors in recording, or damaged goods. Next thing you want to do here is you want to adjust your counts and report the totals. Let me explain here. The thing is that when it comes to having the right strategy, you have to really understand that everything depends on your operations in the first place. Okay. Now, you want to reconcile the totals in your inventory system to reflect the most up-to-date stock levels based on your count. Again, I want to go back to what I said a little earlier. This is because you want to comply with US GAAP. And if you want to be in compliance with US GAAP, you have to really make sure that you reconcile the discrepancies, okay? And so you want to generate stock take reports detailing the count results, missing items, and actions taken for future reference and analysis. And see, the thing is that throughout this whole process, there's an important element I want you to really keep in mind. It's the element of accountability. In other words, you have to have accountability from the get-go. Accountability means what? You have to assign responsibility to a staff member or staff members to really monitor the whole stock tick. And also accountability in terms of if there are any issues, somebody has to be responsible for fixing it, or at least has to be responsible for making sure it is fixed. Okay, do not leave these things to change because discrepancies in inventory count could actually be like a precursor to something way bigger, like I said, fraud, theft, or what have you. Next, you want to refine for continuous improvement. So when we talk about how to conduct a stock take to count your inventory, you need to really constantly understand this is a product of human work. So it is not perfect per se. So you have to constantly improve it, constantly seek to improve it. Use the insights gained from the stock take to improve inventory management processes across the board, not just in one warehouse or two warehouses, across your logistical operations, across your supply chain overall. You want to implement better inventory tracking methods. You want to address areas of high shrinkage or discrepancies, and you want to refine stock taking procedures for future accuracy, right? And this continuous improvement helps you manage future inventory checking and add efficiency to your stock taking operations. So when you think about how to conduct a stock take to count your inventory, there's an element that really that you have to think about: frequency. How often should you do the stock take? How often should you perform a stock take? It really depends. It depends on your operations. It depends on the resources you have. It depends on the logistical, let's say, efficiency you actually seek by doing a stock take. It depends also on the kind of partners, the kinds of partners you have to kind of help you. Do you have in-house help, or are you relying on external help? Okay, and those things are really important. So the frequency of your company's stock takes will vary based on your industry and the types of goods you sell. And for instance, if your business sells perishable goods, you know that the threat of spoilage makes weekly stock takes important, right? By contrast, semi annual stock takes may actually be enough for your business if you sell, let's say, office supplies or other kinds of electronics. Okay. So it's one of those things where you have to see, your operations more than I do. So you know what works for you. Let me give you a few general guidelines for scheduling stock takes. And I'm going to do annual and semi annual stock takes, high demand items, scheduling before heavy sales period, and also just in time JIT inventory system. Let me first talk about the annual and semi-annual stock takes. I mean, those stock takes are common. You have them in all industries. It doesn't matter. So stock takes can be really expensive because they often pull workers away from their normal duties. So conducting regular stock takes on an annual or semi-annual basis lets you monitor operations at a relatively affordable price because you're doing it twice a year, okay? And then you have high demand items. Now, those items may require more frequent stock takes. For high value items or products that move quickly, more frequent stock takes might be necessary. Again, you have to really see what works for you, what works for your specific operations. And but the thing is, by having stock takes more frequently, this really helps reduce the risk of stockouts, and it may be an early detection mechanism against theft or other causes of retail shrinkage. And one thing for sure, you can also have scheduled stock takes. You can have a scheduled stock takes before a heavy sales period. There's likely a calendar date or a specific point in the year when your sales tend to spike. So time your stock takes before those points, so you'll have enough safety stock to keep your customers happy. And also, when I think about just-in-time inventory system, you have to understand those systems need more frequent stock taking. So a just-in-time inventory system involves having a steady stream of products arrive shortly before the stock sells out, and frequent stock takes will ensure your logistics operations are ready for the rapid turnarounds inherent in a just-in-time model. Let me talk to you about the best practices here. So I want to give you a few tips for improving stock taking this year, especially if you have operations across multiple locations. One thing you want to do is you want to use continuous monitoring systems. You want to implement cycle counting, and you also want to establish clear systems. I mean, the element of clarity is really quite essential because without clarity, your staff will be confused, you yourself will be confused, and also your systems will not be accurate and in a timely manner. So you want to conduct every stock in the same way for data consistency, so you can see patterns in the operations in terms of efficiency. You can see trends also, and if you have consistency, basically you are increasing your chances of having proper data. And this includes using the same counting methods and setting a clear cutoff time for accounting. If time is of the essence, you want to prioritize counting finished goods that are ready for sale or products that have higher sales frequencies. What about cycle counting? You want to implement cycle counting. Now, if you want to really understand that if you want to really ascertain your stock at any time during the year, cycle counting can really help you big time. So, for efficient inventory control, consider implementing cycle counting, a method where you count smaller portions of inventory regularly throughout the year instead of doing one massive stock take. And the cool thing about this approach here is that you are actually limiting the unnecessary distractions that large scale stock takes often cause, right? And finally, you want to use continuous monitoring systems. So, continuous monitoring systems like radio frequency identification, RFID technology, or barcode systems allow for real time updates on inventory data, reducing really the need for a traditional periodic stock takes. And the cool thing about this continuous monitoring system is that you are going to reconcile your physical stock data to the financial statement data. Okay, and you will still likely need to use physical counts for inventory reconciliations, but the automated systems make tracking inventory on a minute by minute basis possible. Let me give you a few extras before we close to this conversation here. So, when you think about conducting a stock take to count your inventory, you have to understand that the primary purpose of a stock take is to actually verify and reconcile the actual physical inventory with the recorded inventory levels. In other words, you go to your warehouse, you go to your supply chain, you go to your 2PL to your 3PL partner, and you see what's actually available at a warehouse, and then you go back to your balance sheet, to your asset, to your short-term asset, to your inventory, and make sure those numbers actually match. Okay, and so basically, when you have a stock take, basically you are achieving two things simultaneously. You are ensuring accuracy in stock quantities for effective inventory control, and you are also making sure that you are really reflecting pricing decisions properly, because sales volume reveals the scope of customer demand. Okay, and so when it comes to when it comes to conducting a stock take, you really have to understand that a stock take should include physically counting and recording the quantity of all items in inventory, verifying them against the recorded inventory levels, and noting any discrepancies or damaged goods for reconciliation and accuracy purposes. Inventory is an important item that US GAAP and IFRS pay attention to big time. So when I speak about reconciling goods, when I speak about reconciling data, this process involves assessing finished goods, incoming purchases, production materials, and any piece of inventory connected to the sales process. And now there is a difference between stock takes and cycle counts. Stock takes involve a comprehensive and periodic assessment of the entire, I want to insist on that, of the entire inventory, typically conducted annually or semi-annually, verifying against recorded levels, while cycle counts are smaller, ongoing, and more frequent inventory checks focused on specific sessions or items. Cycle counts offer several benefits, starting with their ability to provide continuous inventory control without overly disrupting daily operations. And by the way, cycle counts are also cheaper though, okay? And so stock and inventory are the same, okay? I mean, in most contexts, stock and inventory refer to the same thing, the goods or materials that your business holds for sale or use in its operations. So, in conclusion to this conversation, I spoke to you about how to conduct a stock take to count your inventory. I give you the trains, the tips, the best practices, the extras, and now the conclusion. Thank you so much. God bless you. I will see you next time. Until then, remember, stay marvelous.